Math 083 Final Exam Review, Problem Number 1, Parts F, G, H, I, and J. In Part F, we have a quadratic trinomial. We will use the AC method. Since A is 1 and C is negative 48, when we multiply A times C, we get negative 48. So we must find two numbers that multiply to negative 48, our AC product, that also add up to 13, which is the value of B. The two numbers that do this are 16 and negative 3. 16 times negative 3 is negative 48. 16 plus negative 3 is positive 13. And since A is equal to 1, we have what I call the A equals 1 shortcut, which means that x squared plus 13x minus 48 factors as x plus 16 times the quantity x minus 3. Again, since A equals 1, we can drop those numbers from our diagram directly into the factors. Let's go to Part G. We have a quadratic trinomial. We will use the AC method. A times C is 4 times 25, which equals 100. We need to find two numbers that multiply to 100 that add up to 20, the B coefficient. Those numbers are 10 and 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 plus 10 is 20. Now A is not equal to 1, so we cannot use our shortcut as we did in Part F. Instead, we rewrite plus 20y as plus 10y plus 10y based on our AC diagram. So this trinomial we have rewritten with four terms, and we will use factoring by grouping. For the first two terms, the GCF is 2y. We have 2y times the quantity 2y plus 5. It will always be the case that if we were able to fill out this diagram, then this parenthetical factor will be repeated. So I write it down first. Now what number distributes against both of these to make these two terms? Plus 5. So therefore our factoring, we have the repeated factor 2y plus 5. The other factor consists of 2y plus 5. Most simply written as 2y plus 5 quantity squared. In Part H, we have to factor a difference of perfect cubes. You may recall this formula for the difference of perfect cubes. It comes down to figuring out what capital A is and what capital B is. We look at 27t cubed. What quantity raised to the third power gives us 27t cubed? The answer is 3t. 3t cubed is 27t to the third power. Then we ask ourselves, what quantity cubed gives us 125? The answer is 5. So in our formula, 3t will act as A, 5 will act as B. I even suggest to my students to write down the general formula and then go back and in place of A, write 3t. Because 3t is being squared, we have to put it in parentheses. Erase the B. Replace it with 5. We clean it up a little bit. We have 3t minus 5 times a quantity, 9t squared, which is 3t quantity squared, plus 15t, that's 3t times 5, plus 25. And that is how 27t cubed minus 125 factors. Here in Part I, we recognize that there is a GCF of 2m. We factor out 2m, and we get 2m times the quantity m squared plus 7m plus 12. For the moment, we will focus on m squared plus 7m plus 12. For m squared plus 7m plus 12, A is 1 and C is 12. We multiply those and we get 12, and we must find two numbers that multiply to 12, our AC product. Those two numbers must also add up to 7, which is B. Those two numbers are 3 and 4. Now because A is equal to 1, we have the A equals 1 shortcut, so the factoring is m plus 3, m plus 4, based on our diagram here. So our final answer, retaining the GCF of 2m, our final answer is 2m times m plus 3 times m plus 4. Here in Part J, we have a quadratic trinomial. A times C is 3 times 4, which is 12. We must find two numbers that multiply to 12, our AC product, but which also add up to 13, the value of B. Those two numbers are 12 and 1. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. Now notice that a is not 1. There's no a equals 1 shortcut. So we write 3x squared, but instead of plus 13x, we're going to make two x terms based on our diagram. Plus 12x and plus 1x, which is equal to 13x. And then this plus 4 on the end. And we factor by grouping. These first two terms have a GCF of 3x. We write 3x times the quantity x plus 4. And as it turns out, that x plus 4 parenthetical factor will be repeated. I write it first. The only number that multiplies against both of these to make these two terms is plus 1. So 3x squared plus 13x plus 4 factors as... One of the factors is this repeated factor, x plus 4. The other factor is made of 3x and plus 1.